I'll start by saying that this video is in response to a viewer request. So if there is something you want to see from me, just know that I do make every effort to respond. A few times on the channel I have gone over the history of the development of digital watches, but I've never made a video that solely focuses on them. Well, here it is, a list of what I believe to be the 10 best digital watches available under the $1,000 mark. As usual, there are a set of rules that I followed here. The watches have to be purchasable within budget, have to have digital displays, and to make things a real challenge, I will only feature one model per brand. I am going to put one caveat in there though. I will allow myself to feature one regular Casio and one G-Shock, because frankly, for a list like this, I think it would be criminal not to. With all that said, let's get into the video. I spent an inordinate amount of time considering which Casio model to feature on the list, but in the end I feel like it's hard to look past the F91W. The brand simply would not be what it is today without it, and so many people in my generation have fond childhood memories of it, and that still continues to this day. With its extremely low price point, durable build quality, iconic styling and reliable timekeeping, it is the perfect starter watch and has taught many people how to tell the time. The footage you're seeing here is from a yet to be released review, so look out for that one coming to the channel soon. For clarity, the model you're seeing was purchased when not only was it on sale, but also in combination with a working discount code of 30% for the preview of the Black Friday sale applied on top of that. The blue version would have actually been even cheaper at $27, but unsurprisingly it was sold out almost immediately at that price point. Just like the F91W, the footage you're seeing here is from an upcoming review. You can see from the imagery that I opted for a resin strap version of this watch, as I think it's more comfortable and cheaper than the bracelet versions. It shares the same functionality as the F91W, but has an Indiglo backlight and a slightly larger display. I really like the look and feel of the T80. The highest praise I can give it is that I think it's strong competition for budget Casio models. The Griffey has a large punchy display that makes it a noticeable conversation piece. It's available with a range of different display colours and cases. If you prefer a more asymmetric design, they have you covered there with the Tetra. My personal view on the brand is that they aren't actually that well known outside of the US, so I think it's worth mentioning that they actually have an extensive range of retro style digital watches available beyond the two that I've discussed so far. Some designs still echo the company's earliest models, dating all the way back to 1975. You can probably tell that I've been on a bit of a digital watch binge recently, as once again this footage comes from an upcoming review of this model. The first thing I'll say about this watch is that it's deceptively chunky. It's a very unique look, but while I respect the original dimensions and styling, I do think a slimmer, sleeker, modern model would have been even nicer. One thing I'll add about my experience is that I think if I had my time again, the black variant with the red display is just a cooler colourway overall. I do think that the modern iteration does the 1976 original justice, but the prices retailers are asking for vary wildly. So if you want one, make sure you shop around for the best price. You might be able to tell just by looking at the design language of this watch that it was developed alongside branches of the US Special Forces. It's shock resistant, water resistant, has a silent running mode and adjustable screen brightness settings. While most of the models in the range have very tactical either military or stealth inspired colourways. There is one with gold bezel and another one which would fit perfectly into Star Wars. So you have got some other choices available if you want to branch out a little bit. Now, this watch effectively ends up on the list by default, because my third rule about each brand only featuring once has actually made this quite a tricky list to put together. The truth of the matter is that while some brands make a lot of digital models, actually many don't produce any at all. I've gone out of my way to avoid anything that's ani-digi, so if I'm being brutal, this is my 10th and final inclusion to round off the list, and I was running out of viable options. I think what I can say about this, to give credit to Tissot, is that they've taken a risk here by putting this out, and it is, if nothing else, original. And I'd also add that I don't think people would view this so harshly were it not for the quartz and automatic variants of the model. I think there will be people out there who dig this look, but it's definitely a Marmite one. In a recent video, I discussed a few Bond watches, and my personal favourite Bond film as a kid was Moonraker, at least until GoldenEye on N64 came out, and I ended up watching the film and playing the game non-stop for quite some time, but that's another matter. In Moonraker, Bond wore the M353-5010 memory bank calendar model. You can pick them up second-hand today between $375 and around $700, depending on the location and the condition. The G757 from Octopussy can be picked up for even less if you prefer that styling and fancy a vintage digital piece. I spoke about the light blue version of this watch recently on another list video, but I haven't been able to get it out of my head since. There are a few brands who make retro style digital watches, but almost none of them ever nail a premium feeling. Because one of the reasons we have fond memories of digital watches is they were affordable, accessible, the kind of thing that you would give to a child in the 80s and 90s, and it wasn't the end of the world if it took a knock or two. The Autodromo maintains that retro aesthetic, while also at least partially delivering on that premium look and feel. I'm not going to say that it's perfect, and it's certainly not cheap, but I do think it's definitely a step in the right direction. As I mentioned at the start, I don't think this list would really be valid without a standard Casio and a G-Shock model on here. I was weighing up which watch to go for, but when the rest of the list started to come together, it became apparent that actually it's quite hard to spend $1,000 on a digital watch. So that made my choice when it came to a G-Shock a lot more straightforward. I simply looked at the most expensive digital display models in styles that I like. The BG5000D definitely fits that criteria, but I will say that I was tempted by the 40th anniversary B5000 PS model, but I think it's just over the budget. It does look really cool though, with that recrystallized heat treated steel case and bracelet. The original Hamilton Pulsar launched back in 1972 and was the world's first ever digital display watch. This was a serious and expensive timepiece, nothing like the modern impression of a digital model. The case and bracelet were made of 18 karat gold, and the watch retailed at the same price as a mid-range family car. It was groundbreaking technology, but didn't manage to hold on to the limelight for too long, as it was soon overtaken in the market by cheaper, more accessible models. Eventually, the entire Pulsar branding was sold off to Seiko, hence the PSR name used here. However, if you want a tribute to the pioneering development of digital displays, this is it. Not only that, but it's a unique design that's going to stand out from any other model in your collection. So, there we have it. What are, in my opinion, the 10 best digital watches that money can buy for under $1,000. Now, of course, With the brand stipulation that I have on my videos, that is quite a limiting factor for a video like this, and I am tempted at some point in the future to run this back with a list of top 10 Casios, if there's demand for it. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Are there models that I've overlooked that are more deserving for a spot on the list? And do you have any personal experience with any of these watches? I'll just finish by saying that if money were no object, the Girard-Perregaux Casquette is like the Computron's much eviler Sith cousin. Love that design. As ever, thank you for your time. If you've enjoyed what you've seen or found it informative, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this.